Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first installment of Top 3 Guest Characters from Mortal Kombat 11. I'm your host, The Giraffe, and today's list is brought to you by Gold Peak Tea. Not that we have sponsorship, but hey, put it out there and anything's possible. Now, one might ask, Giraffe, why make a list? We pretty much know all of the characters coming through DLC Pack 1, and data miners and spoil sports alike pretty sure they found all of Kombat Pack 2 now as well. So why even bother? Well, nothing is set in stone until it is. It's the parable of Schrodinger's cat. Anything is possible until you observe that it's happened one way or the other. So I decided to keep things short and sweet with just 3 guest characters each time. Now, today's theme was going to be 80s and 90s film, because I feel there are plenty of horror icons and action icons as well that really deserve a chance to get their due in the arena of arenas, Shang Tsung's Island. Now, what we're going to cover on this list is, of course, the character, their powers, an idea for what their crushing blow would be, their fatal blow, and at least one fatality and one brutality. Though number 1 on the list is going to get a bit more attention than that because I'm really excited for that entry. Well, without further ado, let's get this list underway. The first individual on this list is going to be none other than Daniel Rabatali. Now, who's Dan, you might ask? Well, Dan is a very special someone. He is, of course, the Candyman. Now, the Candyman is a supernatural being, possibly immortal, that was introduced, of course, in the films Candyman, Farewell to the Flesh, Day of the Dead. But he's a lot like Devora, really, but in human form, if you will. He has a swarm of bees that colonize inside of him. He likes to carry a hook around, so I guess he's kind of a mesh between Devora and Noob Saibot. But we could really play around with these ideas. His powers include teleportation, regenerative capabilities, of course the massive army of bees, we're talking a city-wide cloud of bees, and telekinesis. So, for his crushing blow, we of course can have a ball of bees that get flung out them, that just smashes in. We could also have a teleport hook thing to the top of their head. His fatal blow would involve him hooking their mouth, teleporting quickly behind them, driving another hook in their side, teleporting quickly in front of them, grabbing them, forcing their mouth open, and just shoving bees down their throat with his open mouth. I think that would just be lovely. But what would his fatalities be? Well, once again, we're dealing with bees. So I'm just thinking a whole massive swarm of bees just stinging. They swell, maybe have a few sores burst and pop on them, and they just fight back slowly, and the camera zooms in as their eyes swell shut. Fatality. It's not bloody, but it is gruesome. The second fatality, well, let's get inventive with that hook, shall we? Let's vivisect them right up through the chest cavity, and then maybe again we do the bees, kind of like Noob Saibot, but instead of ripping them apart, just have the bees go in and pour out of every orifice and have 2 come out with eyeballs hanging on their stingers. Not really scientifically accurate, not something that would happen, but I think it would be highly entertaining nonetheless. Just have these bees going around, eyeballs on their stingers, Is that a drone? Is it watching me? No, fuck, it's a killer bee with an eyeball on its stinger. Ah, that would be glorious. The second entry on our list will be brought to you by Flaxseed. Flaxseed, if you don't shit so good, just get yourself a bowl of that. You'll be running to the bathroom in no time. Now, with such a strong start to our list, who could be worthy to follow up the Candyman? Who else but the undead dead man, the natural phenomenon, the Crow. Now, the Crow is a very interesting character, of course. Eric Draven is a rock star whose girlfriend is murdered by a gang before he's thrown out of a window. And this spirit of the crow comes down and gives him a second chance at life. Now he can stay alive as long as those who wronged him stay alive. So it becomes this whole morality balance of, do you seek revenge and help those with your immortality, or do you just go and fuck shit up? And Eric, of course, chooses to just go and fuck shit up. Now, a list of his powers are, of course, immortality. He can't die as long as the crow is around, so he kind of fits in the Mortal Kombat universe. You know, you have Garrus, who is a fixed point in time, and then you have everybody who, no matter how many times they get decapitated, they get right back up. So this kind of explains how Eric does things. His immortality is regenerative, so you can sever his head and he'll just pop it right back on like a new fancy hat. He's invulnerable. He doesn't feel pain, so I'm thinking the way we can work that into his character arc is give him special moves where he gets armor frames for a few seconds and can just like tank on through things. Physical prowess, of course, is another one of his listed powers, so he'd be a combo heavy special light character, much like Jax and a few other characters on the list that I can't remember at the moment. Animal telepathy, this would be where his projectile comes in. He could have his crow swoop down from above, kind of doing like a little low arc or mid arc, depending on how you put in the input. And that would also work into his crushing blow. This crow would just like swoop on in and smack him right in the face. And sheer brilliance, he's a brilliant fighter even before he was killed. So using this brilliance, you know, give him a few parries, much like Sonya has. Hell, give him a couple absorbs because, again, he's immortal. So it's just like, oh, hey, I absorbed the damage, but, you know, he doesn't get a health benefit from it. He just, the projectile whiffs, if you will. Now, weaknesses are insanity. Even though Eric is intelligent, you know, he's crazy. So how can we make this play into effect? Well, give him an ability where he can enhance his moves when he doesn't have bar, but it'll cost him 50 health. So he's essentially just putting himself out there, you know, just giving it his all. Now, touching back on the crushing blows, again, you have the crow. It could just sweep in, claws to the eyes, you know, zoom in on that beautiful thing there. He's been a fan of bats, knives, pistols, so there's really a whole multitude of options that he could have for these crushing blows. Now his fatal blow, however, would be a little bit more involved. I'm thinking we're going to have the crow again come in and just kind of like zoom in, grab onto the cheekbones and peck at the eyes a couple times. And when it zooms away, cut the camera and show him with a bat just cracking him right across the face as hard as possible. Maybe even break the bat for effect. And then, you know, have them stagger for a moment. And when they look back to him, have him say, you know, give me a reason to let you live. And then shoots them with his pistol. I think that would be pretty epic. Fatality-wise, there's a couple different options. I'm going to go off of my memory, which isn't the best. It's been a number of years since I've watched The Crow, so bear with me here. But Fatality 1 will say, I remember him removing somebody's eyes in the first movie and just kind of putting them in front of his face. And I just think that would be a really interesting image, just to have him like sit there, pummel them, pluck their eyes out of their head, put them up in front of his eyes, and then do the whole slowdown effect, you know. The crow wins. Fatality. As for brutality, just something that ends with him flaming the ground with that little fire crow from City of Angels. That was a really cool moment. I think that would just be the most brilliant thing you could do with such a character. And our final entry on this list is brought to you by Bang Energy Drink. Bang Energy Drink. It's tasty and it's better than rain. Now, this is the best for last, if you will. This is the creme de la creme. This is the one I've been waiting for. Captain Elliot Spencer. But you may know him better as Pinhead. Now, why would Pinhead be in Mortal Kombat? Well, You could have the puzzle boxes around. Maybe Shang Tsung collected one and solved it. There's a number of ways to get him involved. Now, in the past, Pinhead never really got into physical combat. That was one of his character traits, is he'd let his chains and objects and Cenobites do the fighting for him. But in recent years, specifically the Scarlet Gospels, it has been shown that he is a force to be reckoned with in not only magic and sadism, but in physical competition as well. We're talking about a dude who literally went fist to fist with Satan himself. So, let's start with his special moves, of course. Well, we've already had the aforementioned chains. So, chains everywhere, chains for days. They come down, they rip, they just stick in and rip. It's not going to be a pull forward like Scorpion, it's just going to be straight brutal force. Another one is he could throw a puzzle box at the enemy. If it hits them, have a Cenobite come out and attack them. Personally, I like Gemini, but there's also the hallway crawler. There's the Fat Man. There's all sorts of Cenobites that you can work with there. Just have them come in, do a single move, kind of like the shape-shifting moves that Shang Tsung has. Other than that, I mean, do you really need more than that? You got chains for days. He can create objects. He can maybe even have the little stupid spinning pillar from Hellraiser 2. Just go, boom, hit them with that. That'd be a nice little low to mid range attack right there. For crushing blows, have the hooks sit in to their face for a moment and then just rip on out, and you got the blood squirting everywhere. Have another set of hooks hit him in the gut. For his fatal blow, however, we're going to have to get a bit more inventive with everything. So I'm thinking he sets up the little hallway, and they're being chased by the hallway guardian who grabs them, and it's going to be the guardian who does the fatal blow. Just sits there, grabs them, smashes them with his little crazy 6-armed, 2 legs in the air self, bites them across the torso, and then throws them out of the hallway right into... well, hell, we'll put a whole mess of chains right at the end that just drag him right into the ground. So that brings us to the part that I've been waiting to do the entire video. What could be his first fatality? Well, we know he likes chains, and we know that the film, specifically the first one, is iconic for one really, really demented scene. And that scene, of course, is called Jesus Wept. So to set it up, you have a bunch of chains going to the face. It keeps stretching and stretching and stretching until it rips all the flesh off the person. Now, I'm thinking we can stop it right as the skin begins to shred, or just start slowing down and show the interior remains at the end. I think that would be a brilliant fatality. And it's just, so gruesome. I still remember the first time I saw that scene and the effect it had on me. For brutality, you could sit there and just remove a head with a chain. You could remove limbs with a chain. There's all sorts of things you could do with those chains. You could even pin them up in the ceiling like they did in one of the comics where they got the kid all chained up in the ceiling and dripping. But that whole first fatality with the face stretch, let's take a look at that face stretch. Let me just pull that up here. Where's my image at? Here it is. Just that whole image right there just captures everything that is Pinhead. Mercy me, indeed. Now, we've talked about the brutality, about having them strung up in the ceiling with all these little chains, just sitting there. Limbs over here, guts over there. Oh, but what would Fatality 2 be? Well, there's this character at the end of one that I think needs a bit of credit, and that, of course, is the Puzzle Box Keeper. There's all sorts of shit you can do with a bone dragon. If you see a bone dragon and you can't figure out a fatality with it, even with all its fire and all that, then I don't want to know you. Seriously, I don't want to know you. So you have the bone dragon rise up, burns them away, and then he starts to fly away, and as they're burning and you see them smoldering in the ashes, he has the puzzle box. Anyway, folks, that'll do it for this list. Leave a like and comment below and let me know what you think. This is my first time, of course, but I can't wait to do it again. I'll catch you later.